My heart thundered in my chest as I stood there, staring at the empty space under my floorboards, the hollow grave where my dreams once lived. $30,000, gone. Not misplaced. Not accidentally spent. Taken. And not by some stranger in the night, but by the one man I thought would always have my back. My father. The man who taught me to ride a bike, who used to say that family was sacred, had gutted my future without blinking. And for what? For a party. A party I wasn't even invited to. Before we dive into this, subscribe for more powerful, raw stories like this one, and drop your city or hometown in the comments. I want to know where you're watching from. Let's start from the beginning. My name's Josh, I'm 31, a welder with hands scarred from years of hard, dirty work. I live alone in a cramped studio apartment that smells like steel dust and the faint bitterness of stale beer. My life is not glamorous, no vacations in Bali, no luxury sports cars, no weekends in beach houses. My thrills come from a steady paycheck, a working fridge, and knowing my rent's covered. Every extra dime I earned went into a small lockbox hidden beneath the floorboards. I wasn't saving just for the sake of saving, I was saving for freedom. That money was my ticket out of being the family's go-to problem solver, the reliable one, the guy who always fixes everyone else's mess at the cost of his own life. 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. I'd drag my exhausted body home, every muscle screaming, every bone heavy, and still take those extra few seconds to tuck another 50 into that lockbox. Every time I did, I'd whisper under my breath, "This is mine. This is for me." That ritual kept me going. Until the night my father, Ray, showed up, leaning against my kitchen counter, wearing a smile so sharp it could cut glass. "Josh," he said, his voice smooth, warm, dangerous. "Your brother Nate's engagement bash was perfection. You should have seen him. All lit up. You made it happen." I froze, my keys slipping in my grip. "What are you talking about?" That's when I saw it in his eyes, the glint that told me something had been set in motion without my consent. "Found your stash," he said casually, like he was telling me the weather. 30 grand. Covered the rooftop venue, the open bar, the works. "You're the man, son." The air went thin. My chest tightened so hard I thought my ribs would splinter. My voice came out flat, cold. "You stole my money." He shrugged, as if I were overreacting about spilled coffee. "Family shows up, Josh. That's what we do." It was just sitting there. I didn't yell. Didn't slam my fists or pace the room. I just looked at him. Really looked at him. And I stayed quiet. My silence made him fidget. My father, who could talk himself out of any corner, was suddenly uncertain. But this wasn't new. My family had always been a one-way deal. Nate, my younger brother, had been the golden boy since day one. Untouchable. Special. His wins were celebrated, his failures forgiven before the dust even settled. Me. My successes were footnotes in the family story. At 19, I was already working long hours on welding pipelines, every penny counted. Nate's music career, meanwhile, was burning through my parents' savings faster than a match in gasoline. When the money ran out, they came to me. "Josh, rent's late. Josh, your mom's hospital bill. Josh, Nate needs studio time." I always paid, because that's what family does, right? You don't turn your back on blood. But I learned. I stopped keeping money in banks where my father could sweet-talk a loan officer. That lockbox was my shield. My one act of rebellion. And in a single night, Ray shattered it. I had heard about Nate's engagement party in passing. I figured they'd keep it small. Instead, it was a lavish rooftop blowout with champagne towers and a string quartet. Ray hadn't just stolen my savings, he'd stolen my escape, my lifeline. 15 minutes after Ray's smug little confession, the door swung open. My grandfather, Amos, stepped inside. At 78, he still moved like a man who'd spent a lifetime working steel and concrete. He'd built his construction company from the ground up, starting with nothing but grit and calloused hands. The sound of his boots hitting my floor was like a warning shot. "Ray," Amos said, voice low but cutting. "Where's the cash I trusted you with?" For the first time that night, I saw the color drain from my father's face. I leaned toward Amos and murmured 6 quiet words. His gaze sharpened instantly. He didn't respond to me, just pulled out his phone, made a single call. 10 minutes later, a man in a navy suit walked into my apartment without a word, carrying a thick manila envelope. He set it down on my counter with a thud that felt final. Here's the thing, last spring, Amos had sold a plot of land and given Ray 30 grand in cash to hold onto while some legal paperwork cleared. No banks. No records. Just trust. Somewhere along the way, Ray went looking for that cash, stumbled across my lockbox, and decided my money might as well join the pile. In his mind, he was just consolidating. In reality, he'd crossed the one man in our family who didn't forgive theft. Amos opened the envelope right there in my cramped kitchen. Inside were photographs of the cash bundles, a notarized letter where Ray had promised to keep it safe, and printed emails where he swore it would remain untouched. Ray stammered, "It's not what it looks like." Amos' voice was ice. "You took my money, and your son's." Blood roared in my ears. "You decided Nate's big night mattered more than my freedom. You didn't ask, Ray. You stole." He tried to flip it back on me, his old trick. "You're hiding cash while your brother's starting a life. What kind of man does that?" I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd it was almost pathetic. The kind of man who's done funding your sad stories. I've been your cash machine since I was a teenager. That's over. Amos didn't break eye contact with Ray. "You'll pay it back. Every dollar, plus interest. My share, and Josh's. The contract will be airtight." The man in the suit spoke for the first time. His voice was like stone. "Miss a single deadline, and this goes to court." Ray looked at me then, desperate, searching for some kind of mercy. I gave him nothing. For the first time in my life, the burden was his, not mine. That was a year ago. I got my money back. Every cent. But that wasn't the real victory. The real win was control. I stopped tensing every time my phone lit up with Ray's name or Nate's number, asking for, just one more, favor. I learned that saying no didn't make me a bad son or a bad brother. It made me free. Amos and I talk more now. Not about money, about life. About the kind of man he hoped I'd become. He tells me I'm his backbone, not his bank. As for Nate, his wedding photos are still floating around on social media, all grins and glitter. But I know the truth behind them, the quiet sale of a truck he loved, the whispered family gossip, the payment plan that broke him. I don't feel guilty. Not anymore. I feel awake. The lockbox is gone, traded for a real vault key that only I hold. And it's not just cash in there. It's proof that I am no longer their pawn. Thanks for watching the story Nest.